All right, Chris. So you want me to ask Paul about relics, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Real quick question. What the hell is a relic?
It's something from like a saint, usually like a body part or something. It's really small.
A who? A bu-
I got one here.
Oh, come on, Chris. Come on. We just got in trouble for that. What the hell is that?
That's a piece of St. Francis of Assisi.
See, that's some more of that Catholic stuff. See, man. Okay. You know what happened last time. Thank y'all for joining us for our last episode of Jimspiracy. Because Chris Show trying to get us ran off the air. Oh my God.
Got something to say, you wanted to play, then come running my way and ruin G status is dead. No, ready to go, about to go in, you already know. Got my instructions, now give me your audience, hand me your mic and I'm ready to blow. One for the money, two for the show, three for everybody who encouraged me to go, get it. We finally did it, I ain't never turning back, shawty. I'm fully committed to my beliefs, I'm committed to the city. I'm about to give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for.
And now, from a booby-trapped treehouse in an oak tree in the George Washington National Forest, it's the prize fighter of the puzzle, the chugger of Hugger Mugger, the Catch-22 comedian, and the host of Jimspiracy, Jimmy Dodds.
Welcome to another episode of Jimspiracy. I'm back. They tried to throw dirt on me, but I'm still here. And on this episode tonight, some of you don't know, there's a new Shia LaBeouf movie coming out called Padre Pio, the Miracle Monk. Now, I would love to make y'all think that I'm so smart and intelligent, but I have no idea who the hell Padre Pio is, so this is where my co-host, he didn't know that yet, but he is definitely my new co-host. Chris, what's up, buddy? How are you, man?
I'm doing good. I know Padre Pio because I'm Catholic, but
Would you please tell us who the hell Padre Pio is?
You're going to find out tonight. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Okay. Now, our guest is named Paul Chen, and he's an expert on Padre Pio, and that's who we're going to have on the show tonight. Now, you know Paul Chen personally, right?
Yes, I met him personally. He actually brought a Padre Pio relic to my house to pray with me when I was diagnosed with cancer. So I've met him a couple times.
And that's one reason why I wanted to have him on the show. I mean, he's a real life miracle worker.
Yep. So
I want to hear his story. I want to thank him for coming and laying hands on my buddy. So I'm looking forward to just talking to him. Now, he does know that Uncle Jimmy has the tendency to not stick to the script. I go off a little bit. I'm not all, right? You did tell him that, right, Chris?
He knows.
All right. Okay, let's get going, man. Let's start with the Twitter poll. Okay? Yeah. The Twitter poll asked, what does that say? Who is Padre Pio?
Yeah.
And tell the people what that says, Chris.
Well, we just posted it right before taping here. Only 21 votes so far, but most of your audience has never heard of Padre Pio. So
I think somebody told you that, right?
It didn't surprise me that much. Outside of Catholic circles, he's not that well known, but incredible story.
Okay, now let me say this to the people, because I don't like to act smart if I'm not smart. I sent you a clipping from WWE, and I'm like, oh, I felt bad because I'm like, the WWE is all on top of this, right?
Yeah, that's what you sent me there.
And you had to tell me that, no, Jim, that's not it. Well,
that's a completely different movie that opens next week. There's a poster for it with Russell Crowe.
The Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah. So maybe we do an episode on that movie too.
Man,
look, I know these are your favorite topics.
You need to switch and come over to the Baptists and Methodists or something, man. Y'all need to stop with all of this exorcisms and all of that, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. See, that's why I'm having a problem making this conversion. I'm too scary for all of that, man. Honestly. And you think it's funny. You think that's funny. I don't think it's funny. Anyway, nonetheless, that's what's coming up in a few minutes. But first, as you just heard me make reference to, I was in YouTube jail. They came in, thought they was going to take my cookies, but I held strong.
Yep.
I wasn't no punk.
So,
And on a very serious note, the show that we did last week, of all of the shows that we did, I think that was probably one of the most important shows that we've done. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out.
Yep, you got to go over to Rumble to check it out. Too hot for YouTube.
Anyway, yeah, definitely. Go check that out, man. It's a very, very interesting story. And on that note, this week we had a couple of stories kind of pertaining to that, right?
Yeah. Two big stories, somewhat underreported, but they backed up what we talked about in that episode.
Okay. What we got?
Yeah, so the first one is Rasmussen poll. And it's a little hard to read unless you got a big screen. But basically, they polled people and said, do you know someone in your family has died from COVID? And they said about 11% of people said yes.
Right.
Then they asked them, do you know someone who's died from the vax? 10% said yes. So people are seeing what's being covered up. They can't cover it up forever. So,
you know something that you and I haven't talked about, but most of these people that know someone or have gotten sick from the vax, most of these people are not of predominantly minority descent.
You guys are surviving it better?
No, I'm saying this is what black people didn't go get that shot, so we don't have that problem.
Yeah.
So therefore, when you talk about all of the problems in the inner city and the death, the fact of the matter is, I think as white people, y'all ain't been dying quick enough, and y'all's government needs to do something to help y'all catch up these numbers, cause y'all need to go too. Y'all think just black people need to go? Nope, they getting rid of y'all too. So there you go.
The second story, Jim, makes you and me as unvaxxed a little more valuable. Check out this headline.
Whoa. What the hell? Vax-free sperm?
Yeah. People are selling vax-free sperm because
Chris, that's just, hold on, Chris, that's
it's
just
rare
stupid.
and valuable.
Wait a minute, that's just stupid. How much you going for?
Good question. We got to find that out.
I guess vax-free sperm is the new Bitcoin, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, see, that's why I hope that you warned Paul about me. And that's one of the things that we haven't done in a long time. You and I haven't laughed, talked, whatever. That's not funny. But before
I can't
Paul
help but
Chen,
laugh. When a headline like this comes along, you got to laugh.
could you please do some research and find out what's it going for?
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, honestly, I could use a little extra change. Anyway, listen, before Paul Chen, let's go ahead and check out a couple of headlines. This is a section of the show that you all know. It's called I Told You So. like I said, this is where we take some of the top headlines that's going on in the news in the country. And it's not always the headlines that's going on in the news, but it's just what we want to talk about. And I think one of the stories that's going on, and it's kind of prominent to me, is the Nashville shooting. Okay. The shooter fired over 152 rounds. I think, 9 people were killed. And let me say this. 6, sorry about that. 6 people killed. And let me say that our prayers go out to the families. Our prayers go out to the kids. But, man, I don't trust the reports that keep coming out. Okay? I mean, we've seen the body cam footage. Do we have some of that body cam footage real quick, Chris?
No, I didn't pull it in.
Okay, good enough. Thank you. You took my advice. I didn't want to see it. Good. The body cam footage. There's been some reports of the shoes.
Oh yeah, saw that.
There's some that are showing the alleged victim or the alleged assailant, wearing the black and white. I don't know what those are. Those Vans or those kids or whatever they are.
The black ones are Pumas, and the other ones are Vans. And someone's saying, why does the overhead camera and the sheriff's body camera have different shoes on Audrey?
Well, what I would say to people is go look at some of the pictures and look at how the actual pictures that you see of the gun person looks like that the vest fits perfectly. And then go and look, and there's a couple of pictures that you'll see, and the vest seems to fit low. It seems to be it doesn't fit the same. Now, I'm just saying my observation. You know, when you and I talked about it, that's what I noticed. Go take a look at it, man.
It could be nothing.
See what you think about
it could be something. That's the way I look at it.
Well, all I'll say is this:
we don't trust.
A lot of y'all are too young. A lot of y'all are too young, man. But I am to the point now that if it comes across the media, if it comes across the big media market, I question it. You know, you all don't remember the Oklahoma bombing. When the Oklahoma bombing of the Mirror building in Oklahoma City that Tim McVeigh blew up, they stopped the search and rescue because they had found explosive devices. I just rest my case. They stopped the search and rescue because they found explosive devices. Okay. Las Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
There were conflicting reports in Las Vegas. As a matter of fact,
that was in the news this week, Jim. They enhanced the cover story. They're just saying he lost money at the casinos, and that's why he did it. That's a new story.
So let me get this. Hold up. Let me get this right. Okay, how much money did he lose?
I think it was like $1 million or something. I don't know.
Okay, so this guy lost $1 million, and you let him bring in $1 million worth of firearms.
Yeah.
What'd you think? You thought those bags were full of money?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. If you just win a little bit in a casino, believe me, somebody's gonna come up over your shoulder and offer you a drink. Okay? Now remember this. Now, I probably shouldn't say this, but you and I had a friend that, out of all due respect, I won't say their name or where they were our friend from, but, you know, we had a conversation with her, and she's afraid to even talk about it. She won't even.
She was there that night, and I wanted to do an episode on it, and she's afraid to talk. She's afraid she says there were multiple shooters, and she ran for her life and hopped a fence, and will not go on record.
Well, if I may say this, because I found it amazing, she clearly stated that she was running in the direction because people were, say, falling this way, and she started running this way, and then people started falling from the other direction. So she definitely heard shots coming from two different directions. Okay, that's all I want to say. And people that were there, there's questions about black helicopters.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's all I'm saying about that. You know, I don't think America can do what they want to do as far as taking over America, because, you know, everybody thought, oh, we got too many guns. Well, you know what? That might be the reason we're not taking over yet, is because we do have too many guns. And at some point or another, they're going to try any and everything they can to get our guns from us.
Yeah.
One thing that I'm definitely, whenever we talk about 9/11, we're still in a war based off that 9/11 lie. Okay? So that America does not mind sacrificing the life of its people. And I'm sorry, they don't mind sacrificing the life of their kids. Okay, so yeah, it's called collateral damage, and I think it's really sad as far as the country goes. But anyway,
I don't know.
Let's keep moving.
If I'm a truther yet on 9/11, but there's reason to doubt. I'll say that. Do you want to talk the Trump indictment yesterday?
No. I mean, what?
Fist raised. There he is.
I mean, look, first of all, oh God, why did you see? Look, man, I believe in fairness, okay? I believe in being fair. I don't understand why we're making this big deal about Donald Trump. And you know what, man? God, I don't want to do this. But Donald Trump is in trouble for doing something that men used to do. And that's like members of the opposite sex. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, that's just almost unheard of now. I just want to ask you all this question. Did we do Bill Clinton like that?
Nope.
Did we do Bill Clinton like that when he said, I did not have sex with that woman? And
Trump's
and
the
Monica
first
Lewinsky
president to get arrested.
She's standing back like this.
All right.
Okay, I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm honestly asking, did we do him like that? No. And he's still renowned. He went on Arsenio Hall playing his saxophone. So I just don't like the two standards that we judge people by. I mean, and that's the other thing, man. We as Americans have such short memories, man. We have such short memories. Somebody asked me in Walmart Sunday, said, Sir, are you registered to vote? And I looked him straight in his eyes and lied and told him yes. And he wanted to ask, he said, who are you going to vote for? I said, nobody. Nobody. Could you imagine if the United States had an election and we didn't vote for anybody? Just to do that would be scary, because we would end up with an alien as a president. Seriously, we would end up with an alien, and the next day they'd be like, here's your president, Elon Musk.
He'd probably win it too.
Well, of course he would. Anyway, man, Oh, wait a minute. I don't want to talk about this, man. We're going to
No,
talk
I
about
gotta
Bigfoot.
play it. I'm just gonna play it. You can talk over it. They stabilized the classic Bigfoot footage. I love it. Look how crisp and clear that is.
Didn't we used to work with that guy?
All right, let's get out of here.
I know you shed tears. I know you continue to shed tears every day because of man's ingratitude. You choose souls. And despite my unworthiness, you've chosen me.
The primary source of all human oppression and exploitation is individual property.
What is he talking about?
It's talking about how we can get control of our lives.
I know you'll give me what I need. I know you will not refuse me. I need courage. I know you will provide. War is a terrible thing. Do not let Satan take advantage of your suffering.
We put our flag in good hands, and we win.
If you ever come back here, I'll kill you!
It feels like a sin to question these things. It feels like a sin to be angry with the Lord.
There is no greater love than this, to give one's life for one's friends.
In nomine Patris, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti.
Say Christ is Lord! Say Christ is Lord! Get out! Get out!
Prepare the fire!
All right, welcome back to Jimspiracy. Our guest for the night is here, Mr. Paul Chen. He runs the Nashville Padre Pio prayer group. You go check out his page, Padre Pio Nashville.blog. Mr. Chen, thank you for joining us on Jimspiracy. How are you, sir?
Okay, thank you, Jim. It's thanks you for inviting me, sir.
Thank you for accepting. Look, you look now. You know we developed a bad name in the last week for. I guess we got a little too real for people. Before I get started, tell us where you're from, man. Tell us something about yourself. Tell us your job outside of this job.
Okay, yeah, I was born in Taipei, Taiwan. I was born in 1963. My father actually lost all his money in the stock market, so he decided that he wants to come to America to earn money and pay back his debt, and that's how we end up immigrating to United States. So I came to America when I was 12 years old.
Okay.
I didn't speak a word of English, and we ended up in New York City, and I knew nothing about Jesus. I knew nothing about God. You know, my parents weren't well educated, so they really tried to make a day-to-day living, and so I didn't know God. So I grew up in an environment where my parents were very loving parents, but we just try to work hard and pay our bills and so forth. And then
Hold on,
later
wait.
on, yes.
Wait a minute. Let me get this right. Your father went broke, so
Yes.
he came to America to pay back his debt.
Okay, what happened was
That's not something we do in America. We just file for bankruptcy and call it a day. Okay.
Yes. At the time, I think in the 1970s, one US dollar is equal 40 Taiwanese dollars. So if you work in the United States, you can pay back your debt, much quicker. And he's always an optimist, even though without any speaking in English, in his mind, he thought he could come to America, the American dream, and try to succeed in his own way and pay back his debt. Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. Paul, how did you learn about Padre Pio?
So it's a long story. So in my 20s, you know,
Okay.
I was working as a programmer and I was kind of earning a decent living, but I was getting depressed a lot. You know, I because of my parents left before me, and I had this trauma of separating from my parents, and I covered up the trauma inside of me. So I got depressed a lot. I was searching for something greater than just material well-being, and I was searching for
Okay.
God, and I felt like God was happy that I was searching for Him. And so, out of the blue, I met with my wife, who's Catholic. She's from the Philippines, and somehow just everything clicked. We got married, and then in 2015 or 14, okay, we got married in 1997. I was actually married on the feast day of conversion, St. Paul. You know, it's an accident. You know, I look back now. You know, just like, and then so in 2015, we went to the Philippines, and in Philippines, it's a Catholic country, so there's a 9-day novena mass before Christmas Day, and I think on the fourth or fifth day, we were at the church at 5 a.m. And it's a circular church in Manila. So I was just sitting there early, about 15 minutes early. I was looking around the church. There's nothing on the wall, you know, and I'm just looking and just waiting, and then the mass started. But then after the mass, I look on the wall. There's a picture of somebody on the wall, black and white, and I say, "What? I didn't see this picture before." So I don't know who that was, who the person was. So I went up to the priest. I asked the priest, "Hey, who's that person in the picture?" And he says, "That's Padre Pio." You know, the Padre Pio is really well known, so but I really didn't know who Padre Pio was. So I said, "Oh, okay." So then the next day we went to another church at Bohol Island, and there's a church there, and people tell us that in front of the entrance of the church, there's a miraculous image of the mole, a mole formation, like a black mole on the wall, of a perfect picture of Padre Pio on one side, and on the left side, there's a picture of Mother Mary holding baby Jesus. It's like the mole, this is miraculous, but the image is like perfect, you know? So I said, wow, you know, I looked at it, I didn't think too much of it. I walked into the church, and there's a statue of Padre Pio just facing me. And I said to myself, well, I think St. Padre Pio is greeting me. You know, I have no idea. At the time, 2015, I knew God, I knew Jesus, but my faith was not as mature as now. So then my wife bought me a statue of Padre Pio from the Philippines here. We took it home, you know, we put it in our bedroom, and I said to myself, okay, Saint Pio is going to be my saint. I feel like he's just reaching out to me. And then later on, okay, I'm sorry, this was 2013, so it's about 2010, okay, and then so 2013, I had some sort of financial problem, you know. I thought it was like impossible to resolve. So I guess God wanted to make me prayerful. So I started praying a 9-day Lavina to Padre Pio, to Saint Joseph, and to pray the Rosary every day, you know. And it was a very stressful financially and so forth. It's a problem that seems impossible to resolve at the time. And so we prayed. So I was not super prayerful, you know. I'd be praying, you know, a couple of days once, but this really made me pray a lot. So I prayed straight for 2.5 years. Okay, this problem just stick around for 2.5 years. I kept praying, and finally it somehow dissolved on its own. And you know, and we're very grateful. So my wife says to me, "Why don't we go to the Holy Land to thank God? Make a pilgrimage to the Holy Land to thank God for for what God has helped us with." So in 2017, we went to Holy Land pilgrimage, and in Holy Land pilgrimage, we met this priest called Father Terry O'Connell. He's from Ireland, Limerick Island. He's our spiritual guide. During the trip, my ninth grade son, we went to the Holy Sepulchre, and also during that time, during the night, during the Holy before the Sabbath cycle, we woke up at 2 a.m. We did the Station of the Cross on the streets of Jerusalem, and then we got to the church at 4 a.m. and then we lined up 4 a.m. The tomb of Jesus has 2 chambers. You have an outer chamber where you can have like maybe 12 people, and then the inner chamber you have to crawl underneath, and you can go in 2 at a time to pray. And then so my ninth grade son at the time, it's pretty amazing that he came. He was ninth grade, but he came with us. But at 4 a.m. he said that he didn't really feel like praying, but he kind of didn't want to get yelled at. So he crawled underneath the tomb with the elderly lady in her 80s, and she would just kind of kneeling down and then putting his head down, and then suddenly he felt this big hand touch his head. And he looked up and he said, then he thought maybe it's the lady next to her that's trying to get up, but she's too far away. And then at 4 a.m. she came out and he says, you know what? Jesus touched my head. But then he didn't even mess up my hair. My hair is still perfect, but he touched my head. It's at 4 a.m. And we hear these other priests like the Greek Orthodox. It's a huge church, and it's a very holy sound of prayers. And he was so excited about it. So, and then I shared with Father Terry O'Connell about this story and so forth. We got to know him pretty well. He's a very humble priest. He doesn't say much. But then on this trip, there's a lady that Padre Pio appeared to in 2010 in physical form, and she did not know Padre Pio either. So during this trip, she was on a different pilgrimage group, but Father Terry O'Connell invited her to give us a talk about her miraculous encounter with Padre Pio. So Padre Pio appeared to her in 2010 in a small church next to the Trevi Fountain, because her nephew, I think I forgot his. I have to look at his name. Her 7-year-old nephew has cancer, and she just went to different churches to ask people to pray for her nephew. So when she went to this little church with this other person, as they're walking up, there's a guy with a beard came out of the church, but he just waved at her to come and kind of told the other guy to go away. As she walked in, they met eye to eye, and then suddenly when they met eye to eye, her life played out like a movie. And all the stuff that she did that was bad played out like a movie. She felt so ashamed. She started crying. And then so when they met, but this old man starts speaking Italian, but she can understand everything. For some reason, she can understand everything he's saying in Italian. And he started crying, and then he blessed her with the holy water and saying all this time, all in Italian, saying your nephew will be okay. And she felt this electricity going through her body. And then she left. And then when she left, she was all wet. And then her husband asked her, what happened to you? And she goes, I don't know. I met this old guy. And then they went to different churches. And then in one of the churches in the gift shop, she saw the picture of Padre Pio. She said to her husband, hey, that's the guy I saw in the church. And her husband says, oh, that's Padre Pio. He passed 1968. That's impossible. But she kept saying, that's him. And after her meeting with Padre Pio, her life changed. She was not very prayerful. She shopped a lot, but she changed. She became very prayerful. And just through God incidents, she became the Padre Pio pilgrim leader in Ohio. She was in this pilgrimage trip. So she shared the story with us. At the time, my friend had cancer back in the States. So I hear her story. I was texting from Jerusalem, the Apple iPhone, you can text, group text, so forth. So I texted my friend in the United States. I said, hey, we met this lady. She knows about Padre Pio, and maybe you can talk to Padre Pio, and he can cure for your cancer. I was thinking, I was hoping this can help my friend, so we text back and forth. And at the end of the pilgrimage trip, the last day of the pilgrimage trip, Father Terry says to me, you should contact Cindy Russo when you come back to the States. So I didn't think much of it. I said, okay, so I came back, and then somehow my heart tells me, I should contact her. When I contact her, she said that her heart is also telling her to contact me. So we invited Father Terry from Ireland and Cindy Russo from Ohio to come to Franklin, Tennessee with the Padre Pio relics. And we had the Padre Pio relic veneration at St. Philip in Franklin. And Cindy had the glove of Padre Pio, the chalice that he used for his Mass, and the altar cross that he uses for his Mass. And when she
hold on
came,
for 1 second. Hold on for 1 second, Paul, because you done said a whole lot right there.
Yes,
and I want to stop you right there. I want to stop you right there because I want to say a couple of things. First of all, you learned about Padre Pio, and you got into the religion like it was just a coincidence. Okay.
Wait,
I'm a big believer there's no such thing as a coincidence. A coincidence is just simply God's way of choosing to remain anonymous. Yeah. Now, your friend saw a bearded man. So basically, Was that a ghost? Was that the spirit of Padre Pio?
Sure.
Help the
Yeah,
people out. Help me out.
sure.
What was that?
Sure. Okay. Then I want to clarify. Before Padre Pio, I was Catholic already in 1997. So my
Okay.
faith grew as time goes on. So by 1997, I went to different retreats and went to church. I joined like ministries, family ministries, couples of Christ, and so forth. So my faith was relatively mature, but the spiritual journey is it's endless, so you just keep growing, so by time before I met Padre Pio, my spiritual formation was pretty good, but could be better, it always could be better, and I already had several miracles before that, but it's not it's like God sending Padre Pio to be my spiritual coach, it's like a football coach, so it's like I got a spiritual coach from heaven, that's Padre Pio, and so by going
So
to the
you said that you've worked miracles.
I mean, I had encounter experience.
You've
Yeah.
encountered miracles. I apologize. You've encountered miracles. You spoke about the glove of Padre Pio.
Yes.
Right now, let me ask this: is that the bloody glove? Because here's the other thing. Because excuse me, let me go back because I want to say this too. Because I didn't write this down, and I think it's very important that people hear this because there are some people, myself included, that when we want an answer to something, we want that answer immediately. And sometimes that answer doesn't come immediately. You said that you had to pray for 2 years to
Two
get
and a
to
half
this.
years. Yeah.
And 6 more months means a lot. Exactly. Exactly. But and this is why I was glad to have you on the show, because you went to my producer, Chris, and you prayed for Chris. And Chris said you brought a bloody glove into his house.
Yes. You want me to show it to you? I have it. Yeah. I have it
I want
by
to see that. Well, hold it. I don't really want to see it, but I'm sure that some other people want to see it. But let's see it.
Okay. So this is the glove that Padre Pio wears. What happened
Okay,
is that
okay. I
this
thought you
glove
just
is
had an
very
OJ
bloody.
glove.
Yeah.
I thought you just had an OJ glove and it was just out like that. Okay, that's better. Keep it. There you go. Okay,
Okay. So
go
what
ahead.
happened is Padre Pio had the stigmata of Jesus on his hand. It would bleed. It would be
Okay.
very painful, and he was kind of embarrassed by it. So he wanted to cover his bloody hand. So he wears a glove to cover so he doesn't catch people's attention. And he's like a
Hold on,
suffering.
Paul. Hold on, Paul. I'm sorry. What's going
No
on with
problem.
his hands now? What is that? Now you just said that. What's going on with his hands there?
Okay, he was gifted with the stigmata of Jesus. So he received his stigmata in 1918. So when he was a priest, out of the blue, he just out of the blue one day he ended up getting the stigmata of Jesus. He felt the pain, and and um, and he was kind of he didn't want any attention. He prayed. He knew that he was getting the suffering of Jesus. He's like a victim soul. His suffering would convert sinners, would bring other people who don't know Jesus to Jesus. So he's suffering for others who are sinners. He's like the Jesus figure. And so when he received the stigmata, he knew that he was going to receive a lot, but he was praying that people will not see it. Some saints get the stigmata, but they're invisible. But he's visible, so he wanted to cover it. He really didn't want any attention. Yeah. And then
Now,
we also, yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
we also received the bandage. So he has a bandage that he wears underneath his hand. The bandage will cover his bloody hand. So this has his blood on it. This has the blood on it. So this is the
Okay.
bandage he wears under, and then he puts the glove on top. Okay, so this is the bandage, and this is the glove.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. How'd you get those?
Okay, this one. Okay, so what happened is should I raise this up all the time? Okay, here we go. So what happened was Father Terry O'Connell of Ireland. For some reason, people gave him Padre Pio gloves, and he received like 6 of them, 6 or 7 of them. So this one, he gave it to us. And then he's from Ireland. So one time, these people give him these chalices, these museum piece chalices, like they're like 1,000 years old. People just said, "Here, Father, this is a chalice for my family. I don't know what to do with it." So he kept a few of those. And then this gentleman, he's the accountant for the Capuchin order. That's the Padre Pio order in Europe. He's accountant for all Europe, and I think he's a very holy man. So the Capuchin give him 8 first-class relics of Padre Pio, like blood or whatever one. So Father Terry knew him, and Father Terry told I'm gonna look up his name right now. His name is Michael McCabe. Michael McCabe of his office is the Padre Pio Shrine of Capuchin Friar in Dublin. And so he received 8 first-class relics of Padre Pio, and he asked Father Terry, "Hey, I have first-class relics," and Father Terry recommended that we receive one. That's how we got this glove. We got this bandage just recently, maybe about 6 months ago. Yeah. So
now you do realize that just seems kind of gory, man. Just the blood and that just seems kind of almost. Some people might even call it gruesome.
Yeah. So what happened is that the Catholics believe that when you have the relic of the saints, like their body parts, or it's how we can get closer to the saints and to Jesus. And in the Bible, somebody wants to get healed, they touch the cloth of Jesus, or when they touch the shadow of Saint Peter, they're instantly healed. So it's the same principle. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have had miracles where people touch the glove, and this lady with a blood disorder, she felt the electricity went through her body, and she said that her blood count became normal, and the doctor thought that was quite impossible. And another person came to our house. Her baby has a born weakness of the muscle, so the baby cannot seem to crawl. He would just kind of flip and flop. And then we pray over him with the relics of Padre Pio, and a week later, he has enough muscle strength to kind of start crawling, things like that. We have various miraculous healings that has happened before. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is the glove that you used when you went to visit Chris, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let me ask you this, because the word that you keep saying is stigmata.
Yes.
Could you just explain? Because let me just say this before you do. By the way, you can put that down. Put that down, Paul. Put that down. Let me see your face, man. That's enough of the bloody glove.
Okay.
I told Chris, there's not a lot of movies that. I mean, if I start watching movies, there's some movies that I couldn't finish. And the Stigmata was one of those movies, and I couldn't explain why I couldn't watch the whole movie. Could you maybe explain the Stigmata? Because for a lot of people, the only thing we know about the Stigmata is the movie. But could you just explain about the Stigmata?
Sure. So what happens throughout the history of the Catholic Church? Some of the saints end up getting this stigmata of Jesus. Saint Francis of Assisi had a stigmata of Jesus. So Saint Padre Pio has stigmata of Jesus. Various other saints, Saint Gemma Galgani, I think she had a stigmata of Jesus. And some of the stigmata are invisible. They feel the pain, but you don't see it. And some with Padre Pio, he had stigmata on his hand, on his feet, and also he felt it's called the transfer vibration, where when Jesus was hanging on the cross and the soldier stabbed him in his heart, and the water and blood came out of his body. So Padre Pio also experienced the pain on his chest. So he has a heart wound also with a bandage. So he has all the pains of Jesus, all the holes, all the wounds of Jesus he has received, and it's not a fun experience. So he's always in pain and so forth, So he's like suffering. So, yeah.
Tell me this, Paul, because you've said that you've witnessed miracles. Tell me another miracle that you've witnessed, because I think, and I want to emphasize this: the world needs to hear about miracles. The world needs to know that God is still working miracles.
So the stories I tell you is what I see. You know, they come and pray and they tell me what happened. And one of the person I know in our church, in our parish, his name is David Belger. He had a heart attack, and then he went unconscious. And the ambulance came and they brought him to the hospital. And this was maybe 10 years ago. And he was unconscious for 7 to 8 days. And people thought he's gone. And his wife kept praying. And his wife prayed to St. Padre Pio. And then suddenly he came back and he has no brain damage, nothing.
Whoa. Time out, Paul. Wait, see, I knew you was going to do this. You done took me wait a minute.
Sorry. Yeah.
Wait a minute. That you're not saying that he was gone, like earthly gone.
They thought he was gone. Yeah.
They thought he was dead?
Yeah.
He was unconscious. So he was in a coma.
He was in coma for 7 to 8 days.
Okay.
And usually people with that many days, usually they have brain damage if they're in coma for that long, that many periods.
Okay.
And so the priest at the time was Father Bala. And Father Bala, his nickname is Lazarus, you know. They call him Lazarus.
Okay.
Yeah. That's one. I talked about the lady with the blood disorder. And then the ones that's in our prayer group, there's a lady, she was in severe pain in the morning. When she woke up, she prayed to Padre Pio, and then the pain was gone. You know, just little things like that. And Padre Pio has, you asked the question about, is it a physical form? You know, that lady who met Padre Pio?
Right,
and she so Padre Pio is known to appear like a real person. And I noticed the thing about that is that most of the time people, when they see him as a real person, most of the time they don't know him. However, when we did a pilgrimage in Italy 2-3 years ago, this lady, she's in her 80s now. She shared her story. She was talking Italian. She said that when she was a little girl, she grew up with Padre Pio. She would tag around with Padre Pio, and she's from a relatively wealthy merchant family. I think her family sold like expensive clothes to the rich upper class of Italians. So Padre Pio would tell her, hey, you should donate to these poor people. You should donate this and that. So then she would tag along with Padre Pio. And then when she got to the marrying age, Padre Pio even told her who to marry. Padre Pio pointed to one of his houses, and Padre Pio said to this lady, "You should marry this guy in the house." And she did. So they got married. And then shortly afterwards, Padre Pio passed. Padre Pio died in, I think, 1968. So Padre Pio is a very modern saint. He's very, very modern. So after he passed in 1968, for some reason, her husband started treating her badly, for some reason. And guess what? Padre Pio appeared in physical form and whipped
and slapped the crap out of him, right?
Yes, kind of like with the Capuchin have this cords. So he whipped her husband with a cord, saying, "Why are you treating my daughter this way?" Right? And after that, her husband was super nice to her, and she shared it with such a joy and glee, like, hey, my dad came back from heaven and straightened my husband out. She was so happy, and she shared her story with so much joy and. So that's one. And there's another one.
Story like that.
Can I share another one too? There's a writer. Her name is. This is a picture where she also has a glove of Padre Pio. I think she probably got it directly from Padre Pio himself. And she also has the cross that's worn by Padre Pio. She shared it with us. And she see the joyful smile, and and we took a picture with her, and we're blessed to have met her. And another lady we know, she's a writer. Her name's Diane Ellen. At the time, she wasn't sure she wanted to be a Buddhist or a Catholic. She wasn't sure. She was like flip-flopping. And one day she got out of bed. She's just sitting on her bed, and Padre Pio appeared, sat next to her, just appeared out of nowhere, sat next to her, and stared her eye to eye. And all he did was look her in the eye. Next thing you know, any doubts about being Buddhist is gone. She became Catholic, and she wrote 3 books about Padre Pio. Yeah, you can look her up, Diane Ellen. She has 3 books on Padre Pio. Yeah.
Okay, there's a movie coming out in June, and it has Shia LaBeouf. I don't know if you saw him in the Indiana Jones movies. and then the Transformers. And he talks about how this film changed him, how it converted him. And I guess the movie's called Padre Pio. We have a scene from that movie. Chris, can you roll that clip real quick? And I want to get your opinion on this. Paul, what do you think of the film just based off of what you've seen?
I think the film looks. I'm glad there's a Padre Pio movie.
Okay.
I think the scenes when I think Satan maybe went to confession with Padre Pio, and I think that lady is some sort of a satanic figure. And
that's what I was wondering.
And he's asking her to say the word Jesus, because usually when people who are possessed cannot say the word Jesus, they cannot say it. So when he's asking her to do it, and she's just quiet. But I wish she didn't curse, you know. I wish she didn't use the F word. So yeah.
Did Padre Pio every now and then have to get a little gruff and use language like that?
I'm not sure. I don't know, but I think I know. You know, I think I heard stories where he yelled at the people who went to confession because they were not telling the truth. He can read souls, but I think he can yell at somebody without using all these F words and so forth. You know, so I don't think he would use these F words. I really, you know, yeah. Again, I don't know, but you know, so. Yeah.
Well, then again, you have to realize Hollywood has to make their money also.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, Hollywood has to make their money. Now, you know, I looked at some videos of Shia, and you know, I guess now he's converted to Christianity. We have another clip. If you look at this real quick. Chris, can you roll that next clip, please?
When all of my plans went out the window, when my life had led to serious infliction of pain and damage on other people, I threw up my hands like, my plans are garbage and I don't want to be here anymore. And that was required to enter Pio. You had to actually, it's why it feels like celestial mathematics or some kind of divine, it feels way, too coincidental to be a coincidence. But my life was completely, like I told you, on fire. And at the time of my life, like, I didn't want to swim anymore. I had a gun on the table. I was out of here. I didn't want to be alive anymore when all of this happened, okay? Shame like I had never experienced before. Kind of shame, you forget how to breathe. You don't know where to go. You can't go outside to get like a taco. Like you don't want to go anywhere.
And that's where you are when you're up there reading the gospel and thinking about playing Padre Pio. You're in that state.
Yes, but I'm also in this deep desire to like hold on.
Yeah.
And so I read the gospel with this man, Jude, and I keep hearing like in many different variations of it. I'm not going to explain the whole gospel here, nor do I need to, it's you. But I keep hearing let go. Mm-hmm. And to a person who's been gripping so tight for so long, it feels like, it just feels like, it just feels like the right move to let go, like complete surrender for real. And it stops being this like prep of a movie, and it starts being something that feels beyond all that.
Now, we listened to that clip, and Shia talks about being suicidal. He says that this movie bought him out. In other words, this movie saved his life. And therefore, what do you think about that?
I think that's, I think God, okay, praise God that he is saved and, he got to know Jesus and so forth through making the movie. I had a similar kind of conversion story too. I didn't know God, and money was kind of, my thing, and then, but then I suffered from a lot of depression, and sometimes I got so depressed that I felt like I was going to die, and I suffered. This was after I married my wife, and thank God she put up with me, and one night I felt so depressed that I thought, if I die, it's not any worse. The depression was so low that I said to her, if I died now, it doesn't, it's like, and then for some reason I had to hit rock bottom to find God. And then after I had the connection with Jesus, all my depression just went away. It's unbelievable. Just after I had a real, true relationship with Jesus, when Jesus comes into my heart, I know him. He actually answered my prayers. I have more stories about Jesus too. And so once I had true connection with Jesus, not just reading him from the book, so not just mouthing off, just true friendship with Jesus. He took away all my depression. And then recently, I've been going to daily mass every day, receiving the Eucharist. And I again, same thing. I attended because actually I initially attended because I got so mad with my older son. He's in his 20s. He thinks he knows everything. He said something to me.
Kids will do that to you, Paul.
He made me so mad. I said, but I couldn't do anything. So I said, okay, I got to go to church every day. So thanks to my son, he's making me, I'm trying to make him more holy, but he's making me holy. So I end up going to church every day. So I went for like 2 years. I've been going straight almost daily every day for 4 years now. And then after same thing, after 3 years, my anxiety went away. My depression went away, but then I thought I would get these anxiety attacks maybe once a month or something, and I thought it would never go away. But then after going to daily mass and receiving the Eucharist, the anxiety just went away. It's just unbelievable. That's a recent thing for me. Yeah.
That's almost a good note to end on, simply because in our world today, we hear about people being suicidal. We hear about the suicidal rate amongst young people, amongst teenagers, being at an all-time high. We hear about anxiety being at an all-time high. And we tell people to take medication. And matter of fact, I want to say they tell people to take medication. And the truth is, you need Jesus. You need God.
Amen.
You need prayer. And like you said earlier, some doesn't come when you want it. It doesn't come like that overnight. You have to put some work into it in order to get the blessing.
Amen.
And I'm just so glad to hear you say that. And I'm so glad to hear you reiterate that. And I hope that our listeners are listening to that, because on social media, we only see the glorious pictures. We only see life, how great life is. And life's not always that great. There's people on social media appearing to be great, and your life is a lie. So Amen. I want to thank you so much, Paul, for coming on here and telling your story and telling the story about Padre Pio, because it goes to show that there is help for us out there. And I think that it does. I don't think it matters your religion. I think that you need to have a higher power. You need to have something more. So, Paul, thank you for coming on this show. I want to invite people to check out your page again, Padre Pio, Nashville.blog. And let me just ask you this. Is there anything that that you didn't get to say? Is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Share some of my personal experiences. Padre Pio tells we're considered his spiritual children. So and Padre Pio says that when he dies, he will do more in heaven, and he's keeping his word. One time I was in my office, and I guess I was thinking of this. This is several years back. I was thinking, I'm not perfect. I'm still working on myself. In my mind, I was thinking of this whatever sexy lady, whatever. And next thing you know, my whole room turned into this minty sensation. The whole room, it disrupted my thoughts completely. I stopped thinking of whatever. I got up. I said, "Whoa, what happened?" I walked out of my room. I asked people, "Did somebody clean my room?" And they said, "No." So it was Padre Pio who kind of interrupted my thoughts. And also after I met Padre Pio, my body became has to have this minty sensation. Whenever I pray, I feel like it's the Holy Spirit. He's increasing the Holy Spirit in me. And so he guarantees that his spiritual children will go to heaven. He wants to make sure that we go to heaven, So he's really working hard from where he is. That's why he's so popular. people from all over the world seek him for help, for his intercession, and to know Jesus better. And I'm so grateful for God that He sent Saint Pio into my life, and yeah.
Listen,
And we smell
Paul,
roses too sometimes, yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your story with me. And I don't think I've said this well enough yet. Thank you so much for your prayers, for Chris, for his family. Thank you so much for doing your anointing with him, because that's what it's going to take. That's going to be that's going to be another tribute to your story.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on here. And let me say this, if I may, please, because I didn't know anything about Padre Pio until I looked it up, and I had to get ready for this. And I think that people need to understand that there are great people outside of our religion. Because in other words, if it's not in our religion, then it don't matter. But the more I talk to people, just with me talking to you, I learn more. And so hopefully the people out here that are going to watch this, that are watching this show, hopefully they're going to watch this video, and they're going to listen to you, and they're going to hear you talk about how prayer has changed you, changed your life, how it helped you find a wife, how when you have a problem with your kids, sometimes instead of beating your kids and trying to tell your kids to pray, sometimes we need to pray. So, Paul, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yes, and my relation with my sons has improved a lot too. I just want to add that in. Yeah, and there's this Catholic saint, Saint Chabel. He has 3,000 plus miracles, and he's a Catholic saint, but he gives miracles to atheists, to Muslims, to anybody who comes to his shrine and seek his help. He gives miracles to everyone. So I want to share that. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you,
It's
Jim.
done more for me than what I can imagine. We're going to be right back with the story from the book of James on Jimspiracy. Thank you for staying with us on Jimspiracy. I hope you enjoyed that interview. Something to marinate in your mind. But this is one of Chris's favorite segments of the show. This is when we go to the book of James just to get a little biblical story. And I think today's story, I don't really want to call it the good thief, because ain't nobody stole nothing from nobody, but the story of the good thief, if I'm not mistaken, it was during the crucifixion of Christ, and there were two other men on the cross with him, and one of the thieves actually mocked Jesus. And then I think, didn't one of them tell him, well, hey man, if you who you say you are, what was that he said? He said, why don't you just come down and save yourself? What was that he said, Chris?
Yeah. The one said, if you really who you are, come on down. And the other one said, well, I'll let you tell the rest of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of needed your help on this one. The reason I kind of thought about that story is because, and I think sometimes we need to do this, period. Sometimes we need to be able to look at a story, listen to a story, and find out how it affects us. Because sometimes I think that God puts us in situations, and I think that's the thing about the Bible, man. We can't always just look at it like this is a book and this is how it happened. We need to look at things and realize this can happen, this will happen, this does happen. And you need to be able to find a way. And I don't know if you realize this, man, but this Friday we're coming up on what they call Good Friday, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what Good Friday is, Chris? Do you know what Good Friday is?
Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
Or should I start it off by saying happy anniversary?
Yeah. I left Blaze on Good Friday last year.
And I was tore up. I was tore up about that.
And you were right behind me a couple weeks later.
Well, I already knew what destiny was what was being held for me. And you know what? I want to say this. See, and this is the thing. Let me say this about that entire event. This is what happens when you think you can talk to white people like they black. This is what happens.
And leave the details out.
Well, I said, I got that. Somebody decided that it got good. They like talking to me crazy. They talked to the cameraman like they was crazy, and they got kind of good, and they decided to talk to you like you was crazy. And I have so much respect for you because we were all on a call, and the next thing I know, when I got to the studio, you had been to the studio, packed up your Buffalo Bills helmet, your picture of your wife, and all your belongings, and you was gone. And also, I find it very interesting that this is just how God works, because there's a guy by the name of Curtis Schoon.
Oh yeah.
And Curtis Schoon.
I grabbed these. I'll put them up. Go for it.
Curtis Schoon. Curtis Schoon is somebody that's not afraid of anybody. Okay, Curtis Schoon is Curtis Schoon is about that life. And would you just read that real quick, Chris?
Yeah. So this was a whole series of tweets, but it started out with Schoon said, Whitlock is having a Christian retreat of some sort in Nashville in the coming weeks. Music, food, and fellowship. This could be big for him. He may end up with a megachurch in 5 years. And when someone asked if they had a falling out, he said, I haven't heard from Whitlock in 2 years. Come the launch of Fearless, Glenn Beck wasn't going to be my boss. Poor Uncle Jimmy got let go after relocating from LA because he said something that might offend Mr. Beck in the big house. Not sure if he nailed that, but interesting take.
Hey, that's his take. That's his opinion. I'm not really responding to that one way or another. I just find it very ironic that it's coming up on the 1 year mark.
Yeah.
See?
This week.
Look, man. There are people in this industry who are successful. And honestly, man, there are people out there that will say or do anything just to stay in the spotlight. Okay? And as far as a higher power goes, come on, man. I don't even want to use his name, but if you want to follow him as a pastor, you go right ahead.
Well,
if you
check out ahead, this Chris. One. Basically, what it led to was Whitlock unfollowed Schoon, and people were questioning. I'm surprised it didn't happen earlier, but Jason, in his typical, let me go to the last one here. Typical deadpan, just replied, "Y'all funny." When someone said, "You can't dodge it forever, Whit." So, the usual antics. I don't know what to say.
Listen,
I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, we probably said too much.
It's just there for observation.
It's there for your observation. It's there. Let me say this, man, and this is why I'm I just find it. Hey, man, it's been a 1 year since we've been there. And I haven't actually had a job in a year. I've talked about being there, and I was hospitalized 3 times. I had 2 surgeries. You know, we live in a society where everybody thinks that life is about getting the bag. It's just about getting the money. And it's more than that. I've made it this far because of my belief in God. People have donated to you, Chris, through GoFundMe, family, friends.
Yeah. I have a Give, Send, Go that was big for me during this cancer. Still is, because I'm only working part-time because of it.
Well, the thing is, man, what we have to realize is, yes, people give, but what happens is something happens inside of the person and makes a person want to give. And that's why they do it. I mean, if they don't want to, they're not going to. And I think that what you and I have gone through in this past year, and let me not leave out Corey. Okay, let's not leave out Corey, okay? Because Corey's a heck of a guy. Corey's a great guy.
We all 3 left the show together, so.
Exactly. And Corey, a lot of people, look, man, I didn't even want to get, hey, man, Corey stayed on 2 weeks after he was fired. He still stayed on. And they still called Corey for a couple of weeks even after that to help with things because there was nobody there. Bottom line is, that's what God will do. You know, Corey just posted a picture of he and his wife and his dog, and I've never seen him look happier. Okay? I think that in life, you need to have God in your life. You need to be able to recognize God's goodness in life. Because if you don't, things can get really bad.
You'll end up like the bad thief. I mean, think about it, these 2 guys crucified next to Jesus, thieves. They were going after the bag, just like you just said. Right. But they still took a different route when the chips were down, you know?
They took a different route. And the other one, he repented at the end.
Yeah.
And this is the whole point of this. And I apologize to all of you all if this was not the biblical story that you wanted to hear. But it says that he repented at the end. And Jesus said, and on this day, you shall be with me in paradise. And I think he even ended it with something he said, between me and thee. I think that that's something that we as people, we as Americans, we as human beings, I don't care what your religion is. I joke with Chris about the Catholic religion. I joke about the Baptist religion, the Methodist religion, the Muslim. The bottom line is there's a higher power. And if you don't have that higher power, and all you have is that power that's down here, you're going to be consumed by that. Okay? And I just want to say thank you to my family. I want to say thank you to my friends. I want to say thank you to everyone that has helped me through this year. By the way, in case some of y'all wondering, what is Uncle Jimmy doing? Uncle Jimmy's selling cars now. Last Saturday, which was, I would say, probably my first day on the sales floor. I'm not even completely finished with my training yet. Sold 3 cars. 3 cars. Now, and wait a minute.
I grabbed the pick.
That lady right there came from New Mexico to buy that 2016 Cadillac that had 11,000 miles on it. Okay. And by the way, she asked me, where's a good place to eat barbecue? I sent her to Slaps on Central in Kansas City, Kansas. There's a blessing in that. There's a blessing in just knowing that you don't have to know what the journey's going to, you don't have to know how the story's going to end, but you got to know that you're trying to run and do your best. And the same goes for you, man, and what you're going through in life. We just have to believe, we just have to know, and we have to repent for our wrongdoings, because like Jesus said, you shall be with me in paradise. And that's what we just have to believe. That's what we have to know. And that's my Bible story for this Good Friday. Believe and just try to do right and repent of your wrongdoings. Hopefully, I'm going to see you again in another week or two on Jimspiracy. As always, may the Lord watch between me and D while we're absent, one from the other. See you again on Jimspiracy. I love you guys.
Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for.
Yeah, are you not entertained? Ain't this what they tell you hustle for? I'm on my gladiator monologues, Russell Crowe. And honestly, I don't see what the fuss is for. You let your money blow and all we tryna do is sow it. Just so you know, this is Kingdom Biz. No Brooklyn Nets, I think we know who team this is. Come on, come all, and don't forget to bring the kids. And y'all gon' need a different planet just to dream this big. So bring your stacks to the table, and I'ma bring my faith. And at the end of the day, we gon' see who win in this race. And since God is the judge, he'll probably throw out my case. So do us a favor, get that look off your face. They feel like you spit that fire, got them industry rap. Why you doing that Christian rap? Nobody listen to that. Then I reply with a sigh like I'm missing the fact. I'm trying to spread this holy gospel till my Savior get back.
I'm going in one time, these record labels all in my face, trying to forfeit my race. But still I'm going in one time, no matter the opposition I face, staying true to my faith. I'm about to give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Well, everything they offer, yeah, I'ma give it back. You can have it, crossing the world on my back, Mr. Atlas. I'm trying to get the people what they lacking. That's why I act a donkey on the track. Hit a passion, got something to say. You wanted to play, then come running my way and ruin G status is dead. No, ready to go, about to go in, you already know. Got my instructions, now give me
St. Francis of Assisi. What is that? St. Francis of who?
Yeah, actually, he's a Franciscan. That's the order that Padre Pio joined. Francis started it.
Okay.
Guys with the brown robes.
This one here is getting ready to creep. You know I don't like this stuff, man. But come on, let's make it happen, Captain. Somebody made the comment in the last chat of the last show, because somehow or another we said something about, or maybe I said something about suicide and how we need to turn to God and believe in God. And somebody was like, that they admitted that they've been feeling that lately. So, I don't know, man. Look, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm not.
There's no money yet. Maybe we'll keep growing.
I mean, I'm not, man. I'm not.
What they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for. Give them what they want, what they need, what they ask for.